NBA Finals preview. Mavericks, Celtics, 2023-2024 season. Two teams with very different rosters, very different history. I mean, the Celtics have been as successful as any team in NBA history with 17 titles, and they have a drought right now. They haven't won since 2008. The Mavericks have only won one finals in their history. That was 2011. And both these teams are back. The Celtics, their last appearance was 2 seasons ago when they lost the Golden State Warriors, where many felt, myself included, even though I'm a Warriors fan, that the Celtics were, at least on paper, the more talented team, but the more experienced team won in the end. So they're back, and they have a better roster than they did 2 seasons ago. The Mavericks, they're led by a superstar in Luka Doncic. And they also have Kyrie Irving. When you compare the two rosters, the Celtics certainly have the better team. They're a better defensive team. They're deeper. Their best 2 players are in their primes. When you look at Jason Tatum, he has entered his prime. Jaylen Brown, for me, continues to be underrated, and at times I consider him the best player on the Celtics. Many of the experts, and I understand why, are favoring the Celtics in this series because of their depth. They have home court advantage. They, without a doubt, are the better defensive team. The Mavericks are not as good at defense, and they are more dependent on their 2 stars, Luka and Kyrie. They had, as I said, different paths in getting here. The Celtics have run through the East. It's not surprised that they're here in the finals, but what was surprising, and I'm not holding this against them, but what is surprising is how easy it was for them to get all the way to the NBA Finals because of all the injuries. It's amazing with all the load management in the NBA, just the amount of star players going down with injuries. First round, Jimmy Butler gets hurt. He doesn't even play in this series, and the Celtics win rather easily. Second round, you have the Cavs, and Donovan Mitchell misses the end of the series. And then the conference finals, the Pacers, and they're a younger team, and in my opinion, they really had no business being in the conference finals. I want to see a Knicks Celtics or Bucks Celtics conference finals. I mean, they're an upcoming team. At the same time, if Tyrese Halliburton didn't get hurt, it may have actually been a series. I think the Celtics win, but it would have been an interesting series. And perhaps it'd go 6 games. And the Pacers should have won that game 1. So with the best player on every single team that the Celtics faced, they went down. So they haven't been very challenged. When the Mavericks, they went and took it to the Timberwolves, which I didn't see coming. It surprised me. Once the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets, I thought, man, the Timberwolves go all the way because of their defense. And I think people have to be careful with that. Again, Timberwolves are an excellent defensive team, and they really weren't able to slow down Luka and Kyrie. Now, it's different because you have a smaller team, even though sure they have Porzingis, but they play smaller in the Celtics. But what will the Celtic strategy be? Well, I think it'll be doubling Luka and Kyrie as much as they can, and they have the defenders to try to suffocate them even one-on-one with Holiday, Brown, Tatum, White. I mean, these are excellent defensive players. And as I said, when necessary, they can try doubling them. The problem, though, is that Luka and Kyrie are such excellent passers. They find the open guys. And in the conference finals, those secondary players were able to step it up, whether it's hitting the open three or it's the lob passes to the big men like Lively and Gafford. Will those players for the Mavericks still be able to take advantage of that against the Celtics? If it was just Al Horford, absolutely. Porzingis, that's a little different story. Though, as tall as Porzingis is he really a great defensive player? I mean, he's fragile. We'll find out pretty fast in game one with this. I don't think home court it matters too much. Even though, yeah, Boston has its reputation, its history. You know, the Mavericks took down an excellent team in the Timberwolves who had the defensive advantage. And as deep as the Celtics are, the Mavericks are clearly the hotter team, though. And they're the more tested team, and the best player in the series is Luka. He's the best player in this series. And he can obviously take over even when he's not scoring and having his best shooting game because of his passing and distributing and ball handling. And that's where Kyrie steps in, and sometimes the Celtics don't always close games well. Well, they don't have that problem with the Mavericks when you either can go with Luka or Kyrie, and they've had this great balance between the two and the chemistry and just knowing who's going to have the ball when, who's going to make the play. And you know, I agree with a lot of the experts that the Celtics should win the series, but I'm leaning towards Mavericks right now. I like the Mavericks in 7 to beat the Boston Celtics. I mean, I just think the X factor is Luka. I mean, both teams have players, obviously, who have finals experience. The Celtics, though, their star players are younger, obviously Tatum and Brown. Both of them, I should say, combined, because, you know, Luka's actually younger than all of them. They had their finals experience. This is Luka's first time, but then you have the experience of Kyrie Irving, all those finals with the Cavs. But the rest of the roster is inexperienced for the Mavericks. And the Celtics tend to come out flat, not necessarily in the first game, but in the second game. If they can't get both games at home, I think that's going to make it difficult. If they lose the home court advantage, I think that's another thing going for the Mavericks. And you asked your question, who is facing the most pressure in this series? I say Celtics, though I see both of these teams having more opportunities to win. I mean, when you look at the West, you figure the Nuggets are going to be back. Jokic is the best player in the NBA. And they're going to look for ways to upgrade that team. And I know Murray was playing injured. I expect them to be back. The Timberwolves to be there as well at the top of the West. And the Thunder, an improving team. I mean, just the path that the Mavericks took is far more impressive than the Celtics. The Celtics, you say, well, the 76ers, but again, can you take the 76ers that seriously? I don't know. The Knicks had a great season. I don't even know what they're going to look like next year. The Bucks, you would think, are going to be back in it, but they have had a hard time staying healthy these last couple of years, and Giannis isn't getting any younger. I'm not calling him old, but he's not getting any younger. And same thing with Damian Lillard. And the Pacers still feel like it's going to take more time for them. So there's time for the Celtics. For the Mavericks, I mean, Luka's young. So there's no huge pressure on either team, but of the two, I would say the pressure is on the Celtics. And that is another, small thing that's going for the Mavericks. So I personally like the Mavericks, though. This series could go either way, but if there is one player that there's the most pressure on, it's Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is the one who's under the most pressure of any of these teams, and the NBA is very thankful that the Celtics made it in, because Dallas doesn't do anything. I mean, I could care less. I just want the best teams in the finals, whoever they might be. I don't care if it's a big market or not. I think it's great having a player such as Luka, and the way he's going, it's not ridiculous to call him potentially one of the great players the NBA will ever see, has ever seen, because of everything he does on offense. But can the Mavericks keep rolling? Can their defense be good enough? And can they take one of these first two games on the road? What I suspect is the Celtics will come out fast in game one. They'll get game one, but the Mavericks will get game two. And that's going to be very big for them. I hope we have a quality series. I hope we have a long series. And it may just be that the Luka Kyrie duo that many are calling the most talented offensive backcourt in the NBA that the NBA has seen will be even too much for the Celtics. And at the same time, with both centers they have, that's an advantage for the Mavericks. There's less pressure on the Mavericks, but what's really bad is the long layoff. I mean, it has been, I've been saying for the last couple days, seriously, the NBA Finals hasn't started. Really, the NBA Finals hasn't started yet. I mean, it's It's not good because both of these series went by so fast, but it is a buzzkill, isn't it? That they couldn't have started this at least a couple days ago. The playoffs are too long. The playoffs are just too long. I say first round should be 5. I even say the second round should be 5, and then only the conference finals and the NBA finals should be best of 7. Uniforms. Well, the Mavericks are a hard team to watch with uniforms. Celtics, please just wear white and green. I don't want to see that black. I don't want to see any kind of alternates. I would love to see the standard uniforms out there on the court. Coaching advantage, I think you have. I don't see a particular coaching advantage on either side. With Missoula or Jason Kidd, it's their first finals for each of them as head coaches. Of course, Jason Kidd was in the finals several times, and he won as a player on that only Mavericks team that won the title. So he really is Mr. Maverick, isn't he? But I'm excited to finally get this series started. Well, that's my prediction. I'm going to go Mavericks in 7.